Hello and welcome to Winchester Now. I'm Mary Blacksland. On this week's programme, how you can have your say on the future of Winchester. We meet the riders and striders enjoying our city. And we return to the Jane Austen era with the Regency Dancers. Plus our news roundup and our community shout-outs too. Winchester Radio. There's a chance for people to have their say on the future of our city centre. A series of one-to-one meetings is taking place with the developer working on the central Winchester regeneration. The area around the bus station has been the subject of more than 20 years of debate. Winchester Radio spoke to developers Jigsaw and the leader of the council, but before we hear from them, we asked residents what they would like to see for that area of the city.
There are too many coffee shops around and people like me can't afford all this, going in these cafes.
What would you like to see them do to this area?
Well, put it back to as it was, medieval, Saxon, whatever.
And what would you say to the developers if you were going to meet them?
Good luck to you.
Well, I think I'd like to see some more shops actually clothes shops and things like that. It's a bit like similar to Marks and Sparks and Debenhams that used to be here, things like that. There's too many coffee shops for my liking.
What would you like to see here in this part of Winchester?
It's just more things to do, like for younger people and that. People of our age, there's not much to do for younger people.
I go to Winchester Uni and there's just not much of a nightlife around here, and that's one thing that everyone at uni's just like, they all go down to Southampton or Bournemouth or something for a night out when it'd be nice to have something here for them to do.
What would you say to the developers if you were going to meet them?
It's going to need a mixture of housing, it's going to need a mixture of entertainment and food, and try to keep some local shops.
What would you like to see down there?
Do you know what? I think a nice park where somebody could go, you could just sit in a nice little area and nice little area where like the older generation go, like herb gardens and smell of it, smelling plants and that sort of thing like we used to have.
Just more clothes shopping, variety for visitors and stuff, not just coffee shops and phone shops. I think that's all we have got. I mean, they've shut Debenhams and everything else, so it'd be nice for affordable clothing and things like that for people.
What would you say to the developers if you were going to meet them?
Sort it out. We've been waiting too long, everything's up in arms, just get on with it and do it, Us Wintonians want a nice town, especially for visitors to come and see, but, as it stands at the moment, there's not a lot going on, so sort it out.
The meet and greets are taking place every other Wednesday between now and the 13th of December.
My name is Matt Walgar. I'm a Development Director at Partnership and Places.
So firstly, tell me about this consultation that you're running, these meet and greets. What's the purpose of them?
For us, successful regeneration is a continuation of Places' story. And it's very important for us to start by hearing local individuals, local businesses, community groups and the like, to hear their stories, their experiences from in and around Winchester, so that we can help to continue that story as we start to build our design brief.
And what sort of response you've had so far? You've had one meeting already. How's that gone?
It's been very positive. People have very busy diaries, but we were fully booked on the day. Pleased to say that we're fully booked for September the 20th. And I think as we move forward and get sort of further into this later in the year, we'll be expanding the format to allow people to turn up on the day as well as booking in advance.
This has been going on for such a long time, though, and I've just been speaking to people out in the city centre. A lot of people say they just want something to happen now.
And I think that, a part of our engagement will be looking at what we can do in the very, very short term, hearing from people what they're looking for to happen in the very, very short term. And that's certainly something that we'll be working with Winchester on over the next few months.
And what about long term? What are people saying to you that they want long term?
I think the 2018 SBD, sets out some very interesting visions for the future of Winchester. And we'd like to develop those visions for the future and continue to grow that ambition.
Can you give us a bit of a clue as to what we might see there?
I think it's probably too early.
Again, people we've been speaking to say they want more shops, less coffee shops, and they want some of the history of Winchester maintained. Is that something that you'll bear in mind?
Absolutely. We've got to be respectful for the cultural heritage of the place. Regardless of the content of the places that we build, we know that it's going to be a green, blue, ecologically diverse, sustainable development.
Going back to the meet and greets, how can people get involved? If they do want to have their say, how do they go about doing that?
So the meet and greets are advertised on the Winchester website. They're also advertised on our Commonplace website. right. So the meeting groups are a part of our active engagement. We also have our passive engagement that people can get involved with, and that's sort of hosted on our Commonplace platform. So I'd encourage listeners to have a look at cwr.commonplace.is, and from there you can reach out to us and also pick up on some of the engagement that we've been doing today.
I know with a lot of these sort of consultations, people worry that they're not going to be listened to.
That's entirely understood, but this really is a genuine listening phase in which we collate a lot of these opinions.
So it will make a difference. You do want to hear what people say?
Absolutely, we want to hear what people say.
So my name is Martin Todd and I'm leader of Winchester City Council.
So from the council's point of view, how important are these meet and greets?
They're incredibly important. One of the things we looked at when we were choosing a partner to redevelop the rundown parts of central Winchester was somebody who was going to work with people, work with community, with businesses, with individuals, with the people who use and love Winchester, to make sure that the work that is done reflects people's views as far as is possible. Not everybody agrees in terms of what they want, so we're going to have to find a way through that. But the start point for any good development that is to start by listening and make sure we're really understanding where people are coming from.
As we said earlier, this has been going on for so many years, decades even, and people just want something to happen now. What are the timescales?
Well, we're moving ahead as fast as we can. There will be a plan and a proposal for what's going to happen, I think, coming in the middle of next year. It is important that we do this early work to make sure we get it right. The reason things haven't happened before is that when somebody does come up with a plan, people disagree with it, or some people disagree with it, and it's hard to find a consensus to say what the development should be. Everybody has their views, but those views are not all the same, and that's one reason why making sure we properly understand where people are will give us a chance to shape a plan which hopefully will be one that the people of Winchester will get behind. That's certainly what we're aiming for.
Have you got any ideas what you would like to see in that plan?
Well, one of the things that's special about Winchester is that it isn't a place that is like Bath. It's not monolithic. It isn't a place that all looks the same. It's a place with diversity, with different views, different buildings. It's a mixture. We have housing and shops and offices all mixed up in our centre. One of the things that is part of the planning document, which is the overall shaping of this area, is that diversity in terms of how it feels, in terms of how it works, will be an important part of it. That said, there are certain things that people said were important early on, which we're absolutely determined to stick to. The public spaces are going to be really important, not just the buildings, but how you get around and how the place works. The opening up of the waterways and making sure that there's greenness within that part of Winchester as well. One of the things that's so special about Winchester is how green it is inside the city as well as around our city.
In the meantime, though, we're having to look at some pretty horrible derelict buildings. What's going to happen now?
Well, the really horrible derelict buildings, which is the Friarsgate Medical Centre, is going to come down. So that is going to be demolished. That work it'll start off fairly invisibly while they sort out the inside first, but that building is coming down. That contract is signed. That is all due to be happening. What we're doing with some of the other areas that don't look too great is exploring the archaeology there. And there's interesting stuff being found about the history of this part of our city. And then the third thing we're doing, which I think has surprised people and positively, is we're taking some buildings that people might in the past have been quite negative about, such as King's Walk, and seeing what we can do in the meantime to make them more exciting, more fun, more interesting, a place that people are more likely to want to visit and use.
There's a lot of talk at the moment about the troubles that local authorities are facing, the cutbacks, funding issues. Can you guarantee this development will actually go ahead, or is that going to be impacted by this?
Well, after the mayhem of the economic situation in the last 12 months, I don't think anybody can promise anything. But the reason why we're confident in this project is, Winchester is one of the best places to develop in the country. I've spoken to other council leaders, and I know that there are other places, other parts of Hampshire, where they have real problem getting an interest out of developers to come forward with a serious plan. That's not the case with Winchester. And for example, recently when we were looking at what we might do in the area around the station, unlike many other places, many other businesses, many other organisations at the moment, we were able to come up with a plan that made financial sense. So I'm pretty confident, because of the strength of the place, because of the strength of the partner that we have chosen, that we will come forward with a plan and it will be viable and it will work and it will benefit the people of Winchester and the place that we all love so much.
Now for a roundup of some of the other stories in Winchester this week. I'm Steve Walker. Crucial meetings begin this month to discuss the future of Hampshire County Council services, with the authority saying it faces a £132 million budget shortfall. It could mean cuts in services and a rising council tax. Last week, charity leaders warned any proposed cuts to community transport in Winchester will have a devastating impact on vulnerable people. The council says it will continue to lobby central government for increased funding and will target resources at the most vulnerable. A public consultation on possible measures led to 2,900 responses, which will be considered at the meetings, with a final decision to be made in November. Police are urging residents in Hampshire to remain vigilant following 17 reports of courier fraud last month, with one couple losing £70,000. The fraud is usually carried out by someone pretending to be a police officer, staff member from a bank, or an internet or phone provider. The victim is conned into providing financial details, access to their computer, or persuaded to hand over cash. Officers urge anyone receiving such a call to hang up. Winchester College has welcomed its first female head teacher. Elizabeth Stone started her role this month, taking over from Dr. Tim Hans. She's previously been principal of an independent girls' school in Sydney and was vice principal of Cheltenham Ladies' College.
Walkers and cyclists braved the hot weather on Saturday to take part in the annual Ride and Stride event. It started over 40 years ago, with those taking part raising money for the Hampshire Historic Churches Trust as well as their own place of worship. The idea is for people to visit as many churches as possible in a local area, either on foot or on bike. In Winchester, many churches open their doors to welcome visitors. I met one group in the cathedral grounds who'd come all the way from Southampton to explore our city, among them Tracy Hillier and Reverend Darren Medway from Holy Trinity Weston.
We started at St Cross and we had a look at the ancient building there. Amazing, fantastic ceiling, all of that stuff. And then we drove down and parked at the cathedral, and we've been around the churches surrounding the cathedral mainly.
And what makes you want to come all this way to do there?
To be honest with you, it's spending time with members of my church. I like the time spending together, and walking around the churches is just an added bonus really.
And have you had a good welcome here in Winchester?
Brilliant, yeah, St John the Baptist on the hill there, nice cold glass of water. Delicious, and they were very kind. Yeah, it's great.
Such a hot day today, isn't it? You're coping all right with the weather.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. It's actually sort of getting the summer that we all deserved. There you go.
And tell me about you. Why was it so important for you to be part of this?
I do it for the sponsor to raise money. Some of the money goes to another church and money goes to us for our church, so I do it to raise money because my husband does the bike as where I do the walking.
And tell me a bit about the church that you've come from.
Our church is a small church on Western Estate, but the church is alive. The Holy Spirit is definitely working in our church. It's a multicultural church, but yet it works and everybody gets on, and it's on like a really poor estate, but do you know what I mean? Everybody loves everybody anyway.
And there's a big group of you here doing it today. Tell me a bit about the people that you brought along with you.
They're great. Some of them are from Weston. Well, we're all here and just sort of getting along and having a good time today, do you know what I mean? Because I've been there quite a few times, so it's other people's first times, so they're just absorbing it, taking it all in. And
quite an important thing to all do together as a community thing.
That's exactly what it is. It's about relationship building. Some of us weren't together as congregation members before COVID, so we've all got to know each other since then. Spending more time together is really important, building those friendships, those relationships, and spending time together as a church outside of worship, which is actually where community gets built and where relationships get formed. And that's important for us.
And where are you off to next then? Where are you heading from here?
I don't know, I'm not in charge, I'm just following.
We're off to St Lawrence Church.
St Lawrence Church, there you go. Thank you, Sheila. We'll go to St Lawrence's.
And then what at the end of the day? How are you getting back home, or are you doing anything at the end of the day to mark this event?
I haven't got any plans, we've just parked at the cathedral, so we'll go home and probably get an ice cream together or something like that. I don't know, to be honest. That's not a promise, by the way. You're not.
And how much do you hope this will raise?
Oh, I've got no idea. Usually we raise about £1,500, don't we?
Every year, the first year we didn't raise very much, but every year we seem to have raised more and more and more. I mean, my husband, he's raised, I think, over £300. I mean, I've raised 190, but other people have done it, so there'd be quite a lot that we've raised. And we're on a poor estate, do you know what I mean? A lot of people dish our estate, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad at all. I love it.
Well, you seem a lovely group, and good luck with the rest of the walk.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now for more news in brief. Consultants with the BMA walk out on strike again next Tuesday and Wednesday. It's in a row over pay. Hampshire Hospital's NHS Foundation Trust says it will work hard to protect critical services and to ensure minimum disruption. People are being urged to use 111 online in the first instance and 999 for a life-threatening emergency. People have until Sunday to give their views on plans for redesigning the Cart and Horses Junction in Kingsworthy, the scene of many accidents in recent years. 2 options are proposed, either traffic lights or 2 roundabouts. The County Council wants to hear from people who regularly use the junction. An online survey can be found on the Council's website. Employers and people looking for work are being invited to a second Winchester Jobs Fair. The City Council is organising the event in partnership with the Winchester Job Centre. It takes place at the Sport and Leisure Park on Thursday the 23rd of November from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The first Winchester Jobs Fair took place in February and attracted 250 people and 37 stalls, offering jobs, volunteering, apprenticeships, careers advice and training opportunities. A hidden garden which sits behind Winchester City Mill has been transformed. Tropical plants have been planted on the space, which sits in the middle of the River Itchen. The National Trust, which owns the land, says the garden has been designed in partnership with students from Sparshot College to better cope with climate change. The garden, which was funded by donations from supporters and visitors, will be used as an extension to the Mill's indoor cafe and can be visited for free. And that's the roundup of the news from across the Winchester area. I'm Steve Walker.
Hello there, I'm Paul Blitz and it's time for the shout-outs here on Winchester Now. Let's give our first shout-out this week to 2 hairdressers who volunteered their time and talents to give free haircuts at the Winchester Beacon. Lorraine from 12 Hair Design and Tracy from House of Hair in Bishopstoke gave cuts to residents as well as local people who are struggling with the cost of living. 15 people benefited from the opportunity for a free trim, and the team says there were some smart hairdos and lots of smiles. Congratulations to the animal welfare team here at Winchester City Council, who have won 2 paw print awards from the RSPCA. The team, led by dog wardens Ross and Dave, gained a platinum for stray dog services and animal activity licensing. The awards are presented to organisations who have received gold paw prints for more than 5 consecutive years. Winchester is one of only 3 councils in the country to achieve this for animal activity licensing. The awards will be presented at a ceremony in November. A big cheer to criminal law solicitor Alex Chesham from Shenton's in Winchester. When she's not donning her wig and gown in court, she can often be found in the water. Now, she's just completed the Dart 10K, equivalent to a marathon for swimming. It took her just under 4 hours. She was raising money for Level Water, a charity that teaches children with disabilities how to swim. A big thank you now for the incredible Voices for Hospices choir, who put on a concert at the Sir Harold Hillier Arboretum. Sir Carl Jenkins' The Armed Man of Mass for Peace was performed by over 700 people. It raised money for 8 hospices in Hampshire, including the Winchester Hospice, who say they couldn't be more grateful to everyone involved, including Jenny and John Sutton, who organised the entire day, and those who came along to show support and generosity. It's 2 years this month since the hospice opened its doors for the first time, and it's already made a difference to hundreds of patients and their loved ones. Finally, a thank you has been given to the organisers of the Worthies Music Festival, which was held last Saturday in glorious sunshine. Local bands entertained crowds from midday through till 11 p.m. The local scouts cooked up a great barbecue with cakes and teas provided by Unit 12's Community Pantry. Join me again next week for some more great shout-outs.
Winchester Radio.
The Heritage Open Days continue this week. Among the events taking place are a big day out at Winchester's military museums, a tour of Abbey House, visit to the Hampshire Chronicle, the Great Hall Open Day, poetry readings and more. If you fancy a dance, the Hampshire Regency Dancers will be also demonstrating their skills. And I went along to one of their practice sessions to find out more. Stepping back in time, this is Regency dancing practice at St Luke's Church in Winchester. The steps are intricate and elegant, the music from the time. And when performing or at special events, wonderful costumes bring to life the Jane Austen era. Here's Chris Oswald, Chair of Hampshire Regency Dancers.
Regency dancing is a form of entertainment that took place around about the time of Jane Austen, shall we say, in the Regency, which was the time between when George III was incapacitated until the time his son took over and became the king. It's dancing which grew out of the common country dancing, but which became influenced by French dancing, became more formalised, and what most people associate with the Regency dancing is, of course, the clothing from the Regency period, which is, in my opinion, very, very beautiful. And of course, we all enjoy enormously getting dressed up for special occasions, and you'll be able to see us dressed like that on Saturday.
And tell me a bit about the costumes that you wear. What are they like?
I think you start with the ladies. The ladies all have long flowing gowns which have a waistline that starts just underneath the bust. It's one which you'll instantly recognise. For the balls, they would have headdress to make them look more attractive. The gowns were made usually of a very, very fine muslin, so that they would have a coloured gown underneath and then a very fine see-through gown on top of that. So it was all very floaty. And when we dance, the ladies' gowns all float around and look very, very nice. The gentlemen have tailcoats. The coats have tails which go down to the backs of the knees, and they are fairly tight-fitting to the body. And we have white breeches which go down to the knee, and then white stockings rather. If we're going out, of course, every gentleman would be taking a walking stick and a top hat with him to make sure that he was correctly attired.
Crossing over. Everybody.
The club recently celebrated its 20th birthday. It started with 10 members and now has over 70. As well as weekly practice sessions, they perform at events and functions, with balls at locations such as Highclere Castle, Beaulieu Abbey and the popular annual Regency Ball. I spoke to member Urine.
You know, you go from one thing to the other, you start dancing, you really enjoy the dancing, and then would you like to be part of a display dancing for the public? Oh, you need a dress for that. Right. I should really have, the little white Regency dress, but I should also really have a ball gown and a day dress, so you've got 3. And I might now have 12.
And what do they like? Tell me a bit about them.
All sorts, really. Sari gowns were quite popular. So you've got some lovely flowy sari ones. I've got some cotton, Indian block printed cotton day dresses, silk dresses. My wedding dress was a Regency dress. So quite gotten into it.
And what about putting on displays as well? Because I know there's going to be one next Saturday. What do you think about actually showing off what you do as well?
I do really enjoy that. It's really lovely to see how people enjoy it. I enjoy it myself, but I also get a lot of enjoyment out of seeing other people have a good time. And it's impossible not to smile whilst you're dancing.
Lead down the set, 3 steps, turn on the 4th.
The group will be showing off their skills as part of the Heritage Open Days. Garth Notley will be one of the members leading the day. What do you enjoy most? Why do you get involved?
It challenges a lot of things. First of all, that you have to think about the patterns, quite complex. Secondly, it's enormously social. And of course, it's very good exercise. On the whole, I'm fitter than many of my contemporaries as a result. And I love dressing up.
And tell me a bit about Saturday. People can get involved, can't they, and have a go on Saturday?
Mm-hmm. What I'm going to do on Saturday is just 4 dances I'm going to do, ranging them across the Regency period, starting with the earliest, ending off with one right at the end of the period, which is very fast and snappy. After I've done those, all of our dancers will go out and invite people from the audience. And they'll all say, no, I only have 2 left feet. But many of them come, and as soon as they're actually persuaded onto the floor, and of course they're dancing with someone who could dance, one of our dancers, so they usually love it.
And how important do you think it is to show people what you do at these Heritage Open weekends?
I think carrying on the traditions of dance from these various periods is important. A lot of modern dancing is a lot less intricate. It may be more intimate in a way, though the Regency dancing is flirtatious in its own 19th century way. So I think it's good for people to dance.
And what do you think people will make of it who come along on Saturday?
Well, I've done this a lot of times now in other countries as well as the UK. I know people love it. They get all enthusiastic about it, and many of them come and join us and become dancers themselves, and I like that.
Now you're in line, everybody. Out the other way.
And how hard is it to learn?
It has elements which take a bit of learning, but in fact, if you simply keep your eyes on what everybody's doing, follow the guidance that will be given to you by the more experienced dancers, even beginners can get straight into it. Of course, like anything, The more time you spend on it, the more experience you get, and the better the dancing appears.
And it sounds like fun.
Oh, it's marvellous. Yeah, why do you think we keep doing it? Mishaps always happen because it's a very dynamic dance. People are dancing around, moving around very quickly in complicated movements. So that if you end up going slightly the wrong direction, it becomes a bit hilarious when you're suddenly trying to get yourself back into position. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's the sort of thing that hooks you. You get started on it and you think, oh, I'll just go along and have a look. It's what my wife and I did. Oh, we'll just go and see what it's like. And here I am 10 years later still doing it.
And you can see the Hampshire Regency Dancers in all their splendour at the Great Hall on Saturday, with a session at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Why not have a go too? And if you'd like to know more about the group, visit hrd.org.uk. The Hampshire Regency Dancers ending our show today. Many thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Winchester Now. We hope you've enjoyed this Winchester radio programme. Remember, if you have a story to share with us, please do get in touch. You can drop us an email at news@winchester.radio. And you can follow us on social media, including Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Winchester Radio.
Winchester Radio.